Hey, paisans, the time has come. On the air since 2009, the independently produced, non-FCC compliant champ of video game talk podcasting. Here comes Tiger Claw Radio. Here's your host, Critical Failure.
Yes, friends, it's Tiger Claw Radio. I'm your host, Critical Failure. Thanks for spending some time and tuning in to talk about some video games and listen to some chiptunes. We've got, I recorded the middle part of the show, which you're going to hear in a little while, earlier this morning, and I spent about a half an hour just going through the list of what's going on, which I haven't used that format in a very long time, and it felt very good. So we're going to do that in a bit. I'm supposed to tease what I actually talked about during that time. Microsoft laying off 650 people. The PS5 Pro being a mess, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, some stuff about Doom, and a positive look at where the ROM hacking community is now. Those are the highlights. But to kick things off, I went over to chipmusic.org because we've been doing a lot of Battle of the Bits lately. I went back to chipmusic.org and 8-Bit Chintendo, one of the chiptune greats, and one of the guys keeping chipmusic.org alive, in my opinion, had a post on the 12th. I'm recording this on the 16th, so this was just a few days ago. And he writes, Mold, NES, Jazzy Electronic. I made a collab with myself under my main alias. I create D&B, drum and bass, and IDM stuff. And under the second one, I focus only on NES 8-bit. I combine these two styles, and I think this is a baller track. It's a little bit longer than I typically like to play. I usually don't like to get to the 5-minute mark because I feel like that's spending too much time on a track, but I think this one's the standout. So we're going to check out 8-Bit Chintendo's track. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. More when we get back. let's go through the notes. Some stuff I set aside last night, just to touch base on. Lollipop Chainsaw is out on Steam, and I gotta say, that one shocked me a little bit. Lollipop Chainsaw was a game that was popular, like, back in the Gooch and the Douchebag days, like, when I was first starting, like, podcasting, and what's interesting is I haven't even heard that game mentioned since those days. Usually the games that they're bringing back have, like, popped up here and there and have kind of always maintained a presence, at least a little bit, but that game fell off the face of the earth. And as far as I know, check me on this, but I don't think there was ever like a sequel or like another game that made reference to it, as far as I know. Nothing until it came out on Steam. So there you go. So let's see how much they want for a Lollipop Chainsaw. I'm looking it up, but I'm gonna guess $40. Lollipop. Wow, right on the money. $40.49. And it's on the Steam main page. Okay, it's $40.49 because it's 10% off for like the launch introductory price. $45 is the ticket price once that introductory sale is over. So there you go. I'm looking at the similar to games you've played, Saints Row 3 and Strange Brigade. It looks okay. It looks good. That's $45, bro. But there you go. That's Lollipop Chainsaw. I'm sure there's somebody out there who remembers it fondly. Here's a question. What is going on with the PS5 Pro? That's the next thing. The next bullet point, and I'm going to read this verbatim. This is me playing on my phone last night, just putting my nose to the ground, sniffing around, seeing what was going on, and I wrote this sentence: PS5 Pro is a mess. And let's see exactly what this thing is going for. PS5 Pro price. IGN writes, the $700 PS5 Pro is too much for too little. Yeah, no crap. But one thing that's been really fun about the PS5 Pro is it has brought back the PS5 has no games meme from the early days of like the PS3 and the Xbox 360. PS3 has no games. I enjoyed the has no games meme quite a bit back in the day. And it was one of those things where, like, I don't even remember the moment where it disappeared. It just kind of slipped under the radar, because PS3, once it got cooking, good machine. really, really good machine. So I haven't heard that one in a bit. So, yeah, don't know why it's $700. That's some massive cojones to charge that much. But yeah, we're seeing a breakdown of the console market in real time. So take that for what you will. Hey, is anybody out there planning on getting yourself a PS5 Pro? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Head on down to the comments and let me know if you're planning on getting a PS5 Pro. So there you go. PS5 Pro is a mess. Truer words have never been spoken. Next, now that the dust has been... Oh, this was a comment related to that I pulled. Now that the dust has settled, how long will it take Sony to reduce the PS5 Pro prices? Oop, hang on a second. There's my wife. 1 second. Let's try that again. Now that the dust has settled, how long will it take until Sony reduces the PS5 Pro prices? During their arrogant Sony era, PS3, it took them less than a year to drop the price by $100. That's $150 today. Based on past experience, I believe we'll see a hefty discount later in 2025. Yes, that's true. PS3 did take a huge price cut pretty early on, but here's the thing that most people seem to forget about the PS3. When the PS3 first hit the shelves, it was capable of playing PS3 games, PS2 games, and PS1 games, right? Whatever that is, quarter century of gaming history on the single machine. Those first PS3s were really, really slick machines. And when that price dropped, it lost the ability to play PS2 games. If you've got an old PS3, it'll still play PS1 games as well as PS3 games, but PS2, that one they lost. And it was, I'm pretty sure it was a hardware issue. Let me know if I'm getting this wrong, because there's a handful of you who enjoy doing that. Pretty sure it was a hardware issue. Making it play all three was just a hefty thing, and then on top of that, the Sony games division being on top of the world at the time. Yeah, big money. And it's also worth noting that was the PS3. Look at what they're coming off of before that. The PS2 has yet to be eclipsed as the highest selling game console ever, and it was the very last thing they put out. Now, I know that the Switch is getting ready to pass the PS3 or the PS2 as the most selling console. I don't think it has yet. I'd have to look it up. But that's where Sony was at the time. You talk about ruling the world in video games, they absolutely were. And so when they dropped that $100 price tag, a big chunk of compatibility went with it. Because that PS2 library, that's a lot of games, a lot of games, a lot of games that the PS3 could play, and then all of a sudden could not play. So, so based on past experience, I believe we'll see a hefty discount later in 2025. Yeah, I mean that's true, but that's kind of universally across the board. If the old saying, if you want to be an early adopter, then you're going to have to pay the premium. And that was true all the way back when I was getting big box games off the shelf at GameStop. They'd come out for 30 or 40 or whatever they were. And I'd wait a while for them to drop, and then I'd get them for 20 or 10. I mean, that's always been the case. It's always been smart money to just hang on for a while, let the price drop. I understand when you're a kid, you really want to get in there with the other kiddos and play your Fortnites or whatever it is. I understand that mentality, but I'm 40 years old now. I'm 40. My friends are all hitting the 40 mark. Some have already. It's not, it's like, should I? This is the conversation. Should I wait? A year or so to see if the price drops, just to work out the bugs. Why wouldn't you? So, yeah. Yes, I agree there'll be a price discount, but I think that alone is not necessarily a strike against Sony. I think they're doing enough dumb stuff right now that I think that one we can let slip. In other news, the collapse of console gaming, as we know it, Microsoft is laying off 650 more Xbox employees. Again, due to the Activision Blizzard deal. Okay. Look, I'm not a big Xbox guy. Not a big Xbox guy. I don't want to see them die. Okay. I'm not a big PlayStation guy. I don't want to see it die. I want to see those corners of gaming continue to thrive. Because because good things get created there, and even if they don't necessarily make the rounds and become available everywhere else, we all see it happen and we learn from it. The developers do. So I want to see Xbox. This is a bad story for me. So I'm hoping they get it together. We'll see what happens. I don't know. As bleak as this sounds, the Nintendo Switch went to the moon. I held off buying a Nintendo Switch for a very long time. I still don't have one. And the reasons why I never bought a Switch was A, because they adopted the pay for internet thing that everyone else was doing in the console market, and I kind of refused to do that. And B, because I felt, hey, it's been a couple years. How long does the Switch got left? Can't be long. And man, was I wrong about that. So now the Switch has gone down a little bit. Let's see, if I jump over to Amazon, what does a Switch cost? Amazon.com, we're taking all of your money. Nintendo Switch. Hey there, Sonny boy. The Mario OLED edition is, $350 regular price. It's on sale right now for $330, but that's about what it's always been. Okay. And the Switch Lite Blue is $189.50, but $200 regular price, which is about what it's always been. But the weird light green one is $154. That's okay. That's renewed. That's why. All right. So maybe it's the same as it's always been. What are you gonna do? What are you going to do? I feel like that's a look further into console gaming than I really ever do. So there you go. Somebody under that asked a question on the internets. I used to put this thing in hey, let's talk to the internet and see what they have to say. But I think this was a really good question that I wrote down. Somebody asked, is there actually a decent alternative to Steam? For PC gamers out there, you don't want to do Steam, whatever. There's a lot of different marketplaces out there. So you could rattle off all of the marketplaces and say, oh, if you don't want to do Steam, well, then you could do GOG, you could do Epic, you could do whatever. Yes, that's true. The number one answer to this question was, yes, the answer is piracy. I don't think that's necessarily true. What I would say is adopt Launchbox and pursue DRM-free copies of games. Because you can buy things directly from developers a lot. Unless you're talking about AAA, that's a different story. But a lot of the smaller games, a lot of the stuff I enjoy, you don't have to get through a major developer or a major retailer. You could get GOG and just get their DRM copies, and then you could buy games off of itch.io. And just hook them up to Launchbox. Launchbox will even count your time for you as if it was a major retailer, which is great. It's great. That is an alternative to Steam. The only problem with that, and it's everything has pros and cons, is you lose all the cloud support. So migrating systems becomes a little bit harder. It becomes a lot of it harder, I guess. But, and then on the flip side of that, yes, but then you have full control over all data. Nothing can be taken away from you unless you have a hard drive fail or something like that. But I've gone through a lot of computers in the time that I've been a Steam user, and I've always kind of enjoyed the fact that all my games are stored, on my account. I can just go download them and leave that as you will. It really cuts down the setup time of any new computer, and that's been a super big positive for me. That has one of the things that has kept me coming back to Steam. So you could go to Launchbox and DRM free games. I suggest putting down some money and getting the biggest honking external hard drive you can find. Get the biggest one. I've got a 5 terabyte one, and every time I buy a GOG game, it gets a folder on that drive, and that'll have the offline setups as well as all the goodies and whatever else I can find. All of my DRM-free games go on there. Excuse me. I became a data hoarder when I got this thing, and I got to say, it's starting to fill up now. So get the biggest honking external hard drive you can find. And then go DRM free and get Launchbox. That, I think, is the best alternative to Steam. Because if you're Steam does what Steam does better than any other service on the internet for PCs right now. So if you don't want to use Steam, I would throw it in reverse and embrace the exact opposite of Steam. That means not using the cloud, using a hard drive instead. That means not having any inbuilt community, because you won't need it, right? If you want community features, just get yourself a copy of Discord, bada boom, bada bing, and then you're made in the shade. And I'm going to be honest with you, all that is not a bad way to go. If Launchbox is your main launcher for video games, you've got better ancient computer game support than any other platform on planet Earth, right? Because you could have I don't know, your launcher into Fortnite that goes through Epic or whatever, and right next to that you could have like Centipede for the Amiga, just because it's one of your favorite games for no reason. Because everybody in my age bracket, come on now, if you're listening to this and you're somewhere between 35 and 45, whatever, you've got one or more game that's objectively bad, but you just love it, right? Because you saw it and you played it when you were the perfect age, or you saw it and you played it and it checks the perfect boxes for you that it doesn't for anyone else, and that's okay. That's one of the beautiful things about playing games in this era where there's just millions and millions of games to play, because there is if you look long enough, you truly will find the perfect game for you. And if you're my age, sometimes that game is, sometimes that game's an MS-DOS game. Sometimes that game is a Commodore 64 game. And Launchbox will take that game and it'll put it right next to your brand new games that you also like to play. So that's that. Let's see. I got a couple more notes here. This one's just an image. Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection. So we got another fighting collection. So I'm going to look this up on Steam and get some details. I didn't read much about it last night, except that there was some censorship going on, but it was somewhat merited censorship. And by that I mean, I'm not talking about Skullgirls. The fighting game Skullgirls. That was a game that got popular being a borderline risque fighting game featuring all women. And I say borderline risque because it didn't have any nudity in it or sexuality or overt sexuality, but there were a couple of frames after it got popular where there was some underwear that you could see, and they shaded it out or whatever, and people were like, okay, but this is what you sold the game on, so whatever. Anyway, I'm not talking about that because we could have a discussion about that. This is, there were games that had I want to say X-rated, but maybe not quite X-rated, like full nudity in artwork for alternate endings that they subbed out. Look, and I'd hate to, I don't like it. I don't like any part of the original games being subbed out or being removed from these collections, but at least that, I get it. I kind of get it, because it makes it harder. You have to rate the game differently when that stuff is present, and that makes it harder to re-release a game. And these Marvel vs. Capcom games, haven't seen these too much, not too much. So let's see what's included: X-Men: Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes, and The Punisher. This looks like a really slick collection, to be honest. $50, add to my wish list. I will get it in a couple of years when it's 30 or whatever. But I am happy to see, a lot of these old games get repackaged and made available for newer generations. One comment on this that I saw was in reference to Capcom versus Tatsunoko, or Tatsunoko versus Capcom for the Wii, and I was like, when are we going to get this game back? And that one, I was right on board with that one. Tatsunoko versus Capcom, I got it for the Wii, and a week later or whatever it was, right after I bought it, the internet shut down. Come on, let us have it again. It's a Wii game. They're very hard to play anywhere else, unless you have a modded Wii. Sell it to us. We'll buy it. But there you go. More Marvel stuff, more Capcom stuff. In the form of collections that you can buy should you so choose. All right, let's go back to the notes and see what else we got. My next note is just an image of Jack Black as Steve from Minecraft. And you're probably familiar by now because it's quickly become an internet meme. That teaser for the Minecraft movie and how absolutely terrible it looks. And I was talking about this with my kids. And I was like, they should have done the Minecraft movie 6 years ago if they were going to do it, so that they could get Ray Liotta to be Steve. Wouldn't that have been perfect? The lore that I heard was that the original artwork for Minecraft Steve was placeholder artwork, and it was a pixelated version of the guy from Vice City, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. And who voiced the hero from Vice City? Ray Liotta. So if they had Ray Liotta playing Steve, we would have had a full circular history motion. But of course, it wouldn't really matter because you watch the trailer and it's like, this is targeted for 5-year-olds. I get it. And it does look bad, but it's for kids. It's a kids movie. I got the same vibe from the like 1 minute of footage that I saw. I got the same vibe that I got from the Super Mario Brothers movie that came out last year or whenever it came out. Little kids will enjoy this, and they need movies too. There's nothing wrong with making a movie that's just for kids. That's fine. But my goodness, Jack Black looks bad. He should not have been Steve. Think about this. Every square in Minecraft is supposed to be representative of 1 meter. So if you pick up a piece of cobblestone, it's 1 meter of cobblestone cubed. 1 meter of stone cubed. And I remember reading, somebody figured out how much 1 meter of stone cubed weighed, and it weighs a lot. Take that and multiply it by 64, and it's like impossible for a human to carry. And that's one space in the inventory. And so if every space in the inventory is taken up by 64 cubic meters of stone, Minecraft Steve is a creature who is capable of beyond superhuman lifting. So it seems funny to see Jack Black with the gray and the beard, and the teal shirt, and that's supposed to be Steve. It just seems kind of goofy to me, but whatever. What are you gonna do? Kids movie, right? Kids movie. Just bear in mind it's for kids. All right, cool. Wow, I'm surprised I've got a few more things. I usually don't do this much work when it comes to talking points. Next up, people in the Doom community were squabbling, as they always do, because there's people in that community, and whenever there's people, there will be squabbling. People love to squabble, and they were talking about keyboard versus mouse usage in Doom. Let me bring you up to speed. If you play Doom now, if you buy Doom 1 plus Doom 2 off of the Steam library, or if you choose not to and you go download a copy of GZ Doom, you're going to be playing with WASD to move and the mouse, just like any other modern FPS. But if you played Doom in 1995 like I did, you were playing it with your right hand on the arrow keys and your left hand on the control key to fire, and there was no mouse, right? That's how Doom was played by the masses in those days. And so people talk about the difference in difficulty, and it's like, hey man, we didn't play it like that in those days, and that's why it's difficult. Hang on a second. So let's take a look at the image. I'm going to blow this up real big. And we see pictures of a picture of John Romero as a young man, excuse me, in front of his computer screen with the giant tube CRT monitor. And this looks like it's from a manual. Pro tip, when you're comfortable playing the game, try using a keyboard and the mouse simultaneously. The mouse provides fine control for aiming your weapon, allowing you to smoothly rotate right and left, while the keyboard permits you to activate the many useful functions of the game. Doom was made for mouse input, so was Wolf 3D. Keen was expected to use the keyboard. And then there's a picture of the setup configuration program, where you could choose keyboard plus mouse. Now remember, when you played games in those days, a lot of times in order to change the controls or do that sort of stuff, it wasn't something in game you could do. You would go back to the directory that had the game in it, and there was a separate program, usually called setup or something like that. Well, it's showing the setup program that went along with Doom. And yeah, keyboard only, mouse plus keyboard, mouse plus joystick. It was a thing back then. It was like a pro move. It wasn't something we all did, apparently. But yeah, there you go. I guess I don't know. That's an interesting. I don't remember it that way, but it totally was. So that's a fun moment for Doomsters, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. I put it in my notes. This is the middle of the night. I thought it would have been interesting. So what are you going to do? Sue me. And the very last thing that I have is a quick follow-up to something I talked about the last couple weeks. Oh, I got a couple more things. We talked about romhacking.net shutting down. It's a very weird situation because it hasn't shut down, and some things you can still just go there and download, even though they said you won't be able to. It's very weird, and Like they telling us that, well, first of all, you can't upload anything else, so that part of it is gone. But you can still download some things, and it's like they told us you couldn't, but you still can, and they're like fighting it. It's a very weird situation. So I saw some people discussing, okay, well, let's just assume for a minute that romhacking.net is out of the picture. What can you do? Where can you go in its place? And one guy said, hey, RomHack Plaza, that's a place. And I went and checked it out, and it was, hang on. It is indeed a ROM hacking related site with a lot of stuff you can download. It doesn't compare to romhacking.net in terms of volume. And there's also worth mentioning, romhacking.net, because of its age, felt like a very Web 1.0 site. Like it was created with static HTML and that sort of thing. Whereas ROM Hacking Plaza is very much not that way. It has the WordPress feel to it, which shouldn't matter at all because you can go there and you can download some stuff. You get to get some tools for making Super Mario Bros. Hacks, and you can get some hacks or some translations of other things, whatever. It's a place that exists. But more importantly, it's a place that is still open and at work. So going there and being a part of whatever it is they have going feels a little less hopeless than being part of romhacking.net. As you know, grim as that is to say, it's worth mentioning. And then I have a list here that was posted with a bunch of stuff, and I'm not going to read the whole list, but just a few things. smwcentral.net, Super Mario, Super Mario World. You can get all your focused Mario hacks and get there. Metroidconstruction.com, if you're a Metroid guy. gbatemp.net. I guess I am reading the whole list because I like my lists. So what are you going to do? sonicretro.org, which is a site I've encountered several times. Sonic has its own really, really awesome community of ROM hacks. A lot of really good stuff comes out of there. If you've ever shopped on AliExpress, you've probably seen some of these games sold in cartridge form. It's one of the things that got me into reproduction cartridges is some Sonic hacks from AliExpress that I think Sendu gave me. And all those you can find for free to play on sonicretro.org. MarioPartyLegacy.com is a thing. I've never been there, but apparently Mario Party's got some stuff. PokeCommunity.com, that's a big one. Pokemon, I think, might have, next to Super Mario Brothers, I think Pokemon might have the biggest following of ROM hacks. People love those. And then, and there you go. So, the ROM hacking community is not as centralized as it used to be. But there is a lot flourishing here. It's still alive. Assuming romhacking.net is not an answer, ROM hacking is still very prominent. It's still being practiced, and people are still exchanging games and having a good old time. And I think it's a great pastime. If you want to do something creative, then there's infrastructure set up here. There's tools you can use. You can spend some time and make something fun, and and people will like that. Really good stuff has come out of that. One of my favorite ROM hacks right now, Pokemon Bronze. I was following the development blog. Well, I wasn't say following. I was reading it retroactively, reading the development blog of that. And that was created by a guy who didn't know anything about ROM hacking and learned it all on the fly. And he put the work in, yes, but he learned it. He got some tools and just started making changes. And then before you know it, there you go. You got a fully extensively unique Pokemon game with stuff that would not be able to appear in Pokemon Gold, the game that it was a hack of. And these sites have all the stuff that you can do to follow along and become a master hacker, pro elite gamer, MLG, Doritos, Mom Get the Camera, etc. All right. Final bulletin that I have from my links from last night. Ubisoft accused of buying bots to promote Assassin's Creed Shadows. And absolutely zero people were surprised by that. Look, Assassin's Creed is okay, I guess, but are there people who get excited for the new Assassin's Creed game every year? Why do we have one every year? How many Assassin's Creed games are there? There's got to be like 20 by now. I feel if there were like 6 Assassin's Creed games instead of 20, then it would be like a huge deal when an Assassin's Creed game came out, and everyone would love it. But they blew that one. So there you go. That is my look into what's going on in gaming right now. At least gaming as it relates to me, and stuff that I'm interested in. I know there's, whatever. I have no interest in Concord or the implications of Concord as a game not making it, and closing down within a week or whatever it was. Whatever. There you go. I just covered Concord as much as I plan to. So there you go. That is gaming in a nutshell. All right, how we doing? We're 38 minutes and 20 seconds in. Usually I'm right about the 20-minute mark, and I couldn't do it this time because of the way I pre-recorded that last bit. But right around the 20-minute mark, I like to thank the sponsors. It's a Patreon-sponsored program, so these individuals give of their resources so we can come back every week. And I as an old tradition here on TCR, I read their names off in a sort of a hall of distinguished gentlemen, and they are Tecmo Balls, Darabka, and EmeraldRangers.com. Sendu of EmeraldRangers.com. I'm so glad that I'm still part of that site. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you're enjoying the party. Not much this week in the way of a fail bag. Usually right around now is when I read the questions and comments. So last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, we did the Chiptune special, and so that aired on YouTube for the first time on release day last week. So YouTube, where most of the comments come from, they were just listening to the chiptunes. However, I will point out that as far as YouTube is concerned, that was received really well. We had a couple of folks, and I really should bring it up, who made comments of approval, and it. I don't like to say it, when things do numbers, because it never matters, But I'll tell you what, I'll bring it up. Hang on a second. Oh, hey, YouTube fixed one of my major complaints, and I never reached out to anybody. They just sort of fixed it. When you look up Tiger Claw TV on the search page, you get Tiger Claw TV now. There's a business where it says, "Did you mean Tiger Claw?" And they spell tiger with a Y or something crazy like that. And for a long time, when you looked up my channel, that's what you got, was this business. You still get the business now, but at least it shows my name alongside it. So it's like, which one of these did you mean? That is a beautiful solution, in my opinion. You don't have to get me directly. I'm just one person on the internet with this name. I'm glad they didn't give it to this business definitively. They're a business. They're doing their thing. God bless them. I hope it goes well. But you can find me on YouTube now. Anyway, I released a bunch of stuff this past week. I had some fun with it. I'd been messing around with the synth stuff, which I'm not going to get too much into, but my synthesizers had kind of been on ice for a long time, and then they sort of had a renaissance this last week, and so I posted an old video and then some new stuff. Anyway, let's go back to the Chiptune special. So the Chiptune special. Yeah, Retro Goodness says, now that's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah. And Quixie says, heck yeah. 2 people actually really enjoyed this. And that's 2 is enough. 2 is enough, man. Let's do more Chiptune specials. So here's what I'm doing. I have a folder, like I always do. And so when chiptunes get used on the air, they get dumped in this little folder that says used on the show. And as more shows come out, that folder grows. And then maybe we can do like a chiptune review, because the end result of just naturally doing TCR is I'm going to get this sort of best of the best chiptunes that I liked over the past, several months. And I followed this format before. I never actually followed through and made the chiptune show, but this time I did it. And if you're not familiar, if you've never taken a stab, once you have all of the, the songs you want to play, putting out a program like that, very easy. The difficulty in doing like a chiptune show is the curation. That's the difficulty. It's going out to the sites and finding stuff to listen to and figuring out what's worth your time and putting it together in a mixtape. Hemrock, if you're listening, we all agree. Everyone who knows Hemrock agrees he would be the best at it. A couple years back when we got together, Sendu, Hemrock, and I for Tigerfest, that was something we discussed, was him possibly doing a show. Honestly, I don't know how he would have time for it, but if you still want to do that, man, then let's do it. Let me produce for you. I was supposed to come up with an introduction, similar to the timer hat, like something like that. Excuse me. And the only reason why I never did was because I forgot what the title of the show was going to be. But yeah, man, if you're still interested in doing something like that, I would love to hear it. Anyway, so that said, I guess that's the show for the week. And as always, whatever it is you're doing in your life, whatever's going on, I hope it goes well for you. I really do. And that's no BS, because who knows what's going on the other end of this thing. I really feel for you. We've all got problems, and you could run into things head on, and I can't promise they're going to get better. But I can promise if you give up, it's going to get worse. And for that reason, I always like to end TCR when I can with a little, slice of positivity. Hang in there. Keep getting up in the morning. Keep doing what you got to do, and keep strapping on them shoes and doing whatever you got to do to keep your feet on the pavement and moving forward. God bless you guys. I'll see you next week.